talking about waterboarding. There's a very interesting article that came across at Human Events, I think it was. SARE training, waterboarding. It's by Spigweed. Frank Spigweed graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1917 and was a founder of naval aviation. Commander Spigweed is the pseudonym of a retired naval aviator who served in the post-Vietnam era. Train like you fight, fight like you train, is the motto of the world's most elite pilots, the Navies. Based on lessons learned from survivors of the brutal North Korean and North Vietnam torture of U.S. military prisoners of war, the U.S. Department of Defense ordered all branches of the service to implement comprehensive survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, SARE training. Every member of Congress should be extremely well versed on the military SARE program, since they have had direct oversight and funding of the programs for over 40 years. Viewing the most recent congressional hearing, one must assume they're ignorant of or intentionally misrepresent the very programs that they fund and support. My personal experience with SARE training came as a junior pilot flying the F-14A Tomcat at NAS Miramar, California. The U.S. Navy SARE program requires all air crew members and members of Special Operation Teams, or SOF, to undergo both classroom and field training experience in these vital techniques. Classroom and field training was accomplished by a cadre of highly trained and disciplined personnel, many of whom had been held as POWs and tortured by the North Vietnamese. The operation of the evasion complex is based on the trainees being briefed on the enemy position and the location of friendly forces. The object to make like a bush, to be patient and deliberate and use all your new taught skills to evade a large contingent of simulated enemy combatants in uniform. They speak like the enemy, act like the enemy, and most importantly, train you on how to react to the enemy. While they fire AK-47s over your head and search for the ugly American war criminals, thanks, Jane, you spend agonizing hours crawling and hiding in an attempt to reach safety. As in real life, few, if any, make it to safety when behind enemy lines. When captured, you're brought to an initial holding facility, hands and feet bound and hooded. You're thrown into barbed wire holding cell. When brought into the first interrogation, hooded and hands bound, I would ask the basic questions. And he goes on to talk about getting beat up in this POW camp and how they were waterboarded. What I didn't know then, but I do know now, is that as in all interrogations, both for real-world hostage terrorists, non-uniformed combatants, and in SARE, a highly trained group of doctors, psychologists, interrogators, and strap-in and strap-out rescue teams are always present. My first experience on the waterboard was to be laying on my back on a board with my body at a 30-degree slope, feet in the air, head down, face up. The straps are all confining, with the only movement of your body that of the ability to move your head. Slowly, water is poured into your face, up your nose, and some in your mouth. The questions from interrogators and amounts of water increase with each unsuccessful response. Soon they have your complete attention as you begin to believe you're going to drown. Scared, alone, cold, and in total lack of control, you learn to cooperate to the best of your ability to protect your life. For each person, that level of cooperation or resistance is different. You must be tested and trained to know how to respond in the real combat world. Escape was the key to freedom and reward. So he goes on, but he talks about how guys at SARE training are waterboarded. And if waterboarding is considered torture, then why are our guys going through that training? I mean, I'm sick and tired of listening to these squirrely, cowardly terrorists, and they are terrorists, unlike what Janet Napolitano calls them. Terrorism isn't supposed to be referred to as terrorism anymore. It's supposed to be referred to as man-made disaster. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. Declaring that conservatives or people that believe in normal values are terrorists, it's ridiculous. It's just absurd. Terrorism is now called a man-caused disaster, despite the fact that they talk about striking terror into the hearts of the enemy. It says it in the Quran. Against them make ready your strength to the utmost of your power, including steeds of war, to strike terror into the enemy of Allah and your enemy. I am with you. Give firmness to the believers. I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. Smite ye above their necks and smite all their fingertips of them. I was appalled to find out that pirates, we've tried to popularize the idea of pirates, the Somali pirates. Well, actually, pirates in general, with the Pirates of Penzance and the Johnny Depp movie and everything, it has a history in Islam. And it goes way back to Tripoli, Thomas Jefferson and Tripoli. But it's really interesting what Thomas Jefferson's conclusions were. He read the Quran in order to understand the enemy. That it was founded on the laws of their prophet, that it was written in their Quran, that all nations who should not have acknowledged their authority were sinners, that it was their right and duty to make war upon them wherever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and that every Mussulman who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise. The war on terror is now the overseas contingency operation, because we don't dare use the word, because we're too culturally Marxist. Our soldiers returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan are now labeled as possible terrorists, but the real terrorists, the head-hacking kind, are now people who make man-caused disasters. It turns out that Obama actually delayed the pirate rescue. The SEAL team deployment stalled for 36 hours and was hampered by the limited rules of engagement. Joe Farah has it in his G6 bulletin. This is what's over at WND. While Barack Obama is basking in praise for his decisive handling of the Somali pirate attack on a merchant ship in the Indian Ocean, reliable military sources close to the scene are painting a much different picture of the incident, accusing the president, our lawyer-in-chief, of employing restrictive rules of engagement that actually hampered the rescue of Captain Richard Phillips and extended the drama at sea for days. Well, does that come as any surprise to anyone? I'm just so disgusted by all this news, I can't even tell you. It could be worse, so we need to be grateful for the freedoms that we still have as we watch our futures go down the sinkhole. Thank you to our lawyer-in-chief, Commissar Zero. See ya.